Here. This is AJ from Sports Hub Media with Rich Twu from Let's Go Warriors. Thank you, Rich, for joining me here.
Hey, thank you, AJ. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So, how did you get interested in basketball?
Oh yeah, I got to thank my dad, He'd turn on the television and there'd be a Warriors game on and then I think I just started playing at the park and playing at school for sure. That was a thing to do during recess. Um, I remember that, so that's really good memories. And then I decided to play in middle school, like try out for the team and everything. That actually didn't go well because the seventh grade coach, he just wanted guys that could have good endurance, and I wasn't really good at that. I just like to play and like skills and like was trying to be like a point guard with, zippy passes and whatnot. And so that didn't work out so well in seventh grade, but I kept at it. And then I went out for the team in eighth grade. And so that's how I kind of got into the sport. So just to sum up, eighth grade was really rocky. I was always scared to like go into a game, and even my coach was like, um, "You look scared." That didn't really help, to state the obvious to me. That just made me more scared. So I couldn't really play that well. So I rode the bench a lot, and that was tough. Ninth grade, I still loved the game so much. I made the team, but I was like the third string point guard. And then luckily I grew. So that was a good learning experience, being, very far down on the end of the bench and not ever getting any minutes in any games hardly, and still being nervous when I got out there. And then I grew 8 inches over the summer
Ooh.
between ninth and 10th grade. So then I became a small forward, and I was good on defense. And so I started to turn the tide there. I was good at passing the ball, so I was able to pass to our, star players, like posting up and stuff. And that was like 11th grade. And so I just kept at it, and I just loved the game so much that I kept playing. And my dad would bring me to his adult runs, and we would like he would teach me the game. I got a little bit better and better after that. And it was after high school. I got to then be a starter for the same coach, because the coach in ninth grade who had me at the end of the bench, then I had two other coaches, and then that same ninth grade coach became my 12th grade coach, just because there were so many changes there. And so it was kind of neat to come back and be able to be in the starting five by my senior year in high school, and then just kept loving the game and just would spend hours. My LinkedIn profile talks about me spending hours in the gym at Cal RSF, and just spending hours there, whether it's playing ball, working on my own game. And then I have to mention that I got into the Japanese youth organization. We call it the Japanese leagues. They're called the NAU, Nippon Athletic Union, I believe is the acronym for that. And they have like a totally underground, under the radar basketball leagues that really make you feel like you're playing in the NBA a little bit. And so I was really passionate about that, and that kind of started. That's kind of like the beginning of me taking basketball really seriously.
Yeah, and did you play or follow any other sports besides basketball?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I mean, I tried to play a little flag football in seventh grade. I often have memories of that. But it wasn't really as much as basketball. In during my really younger years, I played soccer, and we had an awesome team. My best friend was like the best player on the team, so he convinced me to play on the team. I was the right wing, and they were trying to teach us offsides, and we just couldn't figure it out as kids what the heck offsides was. And so the coach finally said, just if you get the ball, just I was pretty fast. Dribble, dribble, dribble all the way to the end line and then center it from where you are. And I said, really? I should do that? Yeah, just do that. So that became my role, and I think I was quite good at that. So just right wing, get the ball, just kick it way up, and then center it across to our strikers in the middle. So we were actually pretty good. We won a few championships, but that was only just for a couple years. And then like my best friend like went to play in a different league or what have you. So um we I kind of got left behind in that, and my passion was not soccer, so I did not continue that, even though I gave it one more try in, I believe, eighth or ninth grade. But my best friend, who still was going to high school with me, his brother was the coach, but he had me at fullback because I hadn't played in so long, and I wasn't as good compared to the other kids at that time. So that was probably the right thing to do, but I just did not enjoy that as much. So that, it all cleared the path for basketball.
And go fast forward to when you're an adult. So what's the story behind your nickname, Poor Man's Commish?
Oh, thank you for asking. Thank you for noticing that. When we played in so we would play Japanese league, and a lot of the same people in San Francisco, we'd play in this Wednesday night um, men's league that was in Japantown. You didn't have to be Japanese or Chinese or Asian. It was open to all races. Or all ethnicities. It's just the fact that our community was so tight that we would see the same faces over and over again, and we loved the game so much and took it so seriously as if we were being paid to play the game, as if we were professionals, that we would play in the Wednesday night league. And in the Wednesday night league, when we would watch other teams, the scorekeeper and his buddy, the ones that really ran the league, what were their names? I just remember the one guy, his nickname is Shoe because he's like small, so people think of him as is kind of like Willie Shoemaker from horse racing. We call Shoe would be like the way that he would enjoy his time scorekeeping the league. He did play on a team in there. Um, and we would wait for the next game. Like I'd be playing there, so I'd show up half an hour early. Um, when we'd watch another team, there'd be like somebody that played like, you know, some I guess like middle tier type player. And you'd go, oh, that's a poor man's Andre Miller or something obscure like that, right? Poor man's I don't know. Um, Carmelo Anthony if he was really good at shooting. And so the moniker of poor man's kind of, he's not really like he plays and moves and maybe has a body type that's similar to these NBA players that we're watching. And so we go, oh, that's a poor man's whatever his name is. So then a few years later, I started running my own basketball leagues because um, I was just excited about that. And it did affect my play. Like it's hard to like play the game and then worry about like, are all the games going to be run right? Or is a referee running late? Or did this team show up? Or, who won or lost, and keeping track of all of the score sheets or whatnot. So my attention kind of shifted from playing the game to running the basketball league. I still enjoyed playing in it. I just didn't take it as seriously. I mean, I did once I stepped on the court, but overall, it was like, okay, I'm really a commissioner of these basketball leagues that I'm running. It started as an Asian league. It grew from like 9 teams at Potrero Hill Rec Center in San Francisco. We grew it just like the Japanese leagues, except I wanted to include all of the Asian ethnicities. And then we opened it up because there would be teams that would bring in non-Asians and like pretend that they were Asians and stuff. And after a while, it's like, you know what? Let's just open it up and not worry about all these, controversies like, oh, wait, he's not Asian or he is or whatever, and have any, arguments like that. Let's just open it up. So yeah, I ran a men's league, and I was the commissioner. We grew to like 125 teams at one point in the Bay at San Francisco. Then we stretched out to Oakland, even San Mateo, and even San Jose for a lot. But yeah, at some point we had three or four cities and like 125 teams at the peak of it. And so I was the commissioner of that league. So I referred to myself as the poor man's commish. At the time, David Stern was still alive. So it was like, I'm the poor man's David Stern, but I'm the poor man's commish. And everybody referred to David Stern as the commish. So that's the story of why I chose my Twitter handle way back when as poor man's commish, because I was like a poor man's David Stern. But I get to realize all of those same issues. Like teams want to make sure that the league is not rigged. They want to make sure that they have an equal chance at winning a championship. I started stratifying the divisions to make sure they were like competitively equal and that people would have a good time playing against teams that were equally matched. Because who wants to pay money to play in a league and then play against a really, really strong team that's been there forever and lose by 30 to them? So I would stratify all of the teams to make it more competitive. I had a lot of care into that. And so that and like hiring referees and stuff. So I think I got lucky that I got to see the game of basketball from so many different angles. Um, the game of basketball and how it's played and how it's organized for people.
And can I ask a question about that league?
Yeah.
Was that league called Dream League?
Yeah, thank you. I forgot to say the name of it and you helped me out there. So yeah, we called it Dream League. I have to credit my old business partner, Danny Guy. The name came back. Yeah, Danny Guy. Oh, let's call it Dream League. Now we had our differences and it's hard. I've learned like the game of basketball, right? It's I tell people it's very competitive, but it's also like modern day gladiator. Luckily there's no lions killing people and there's no bloodshed and people don't have to die or animals don't have to die, but it's still the same kind of like survival instincts of your brain and competitiveness. Like you're going to be super alert and you're going to want to win and you're going to want to, it's just a very competitive environment, even from behind the scenes, even from whether it's just running the league and then you have competing leagues and they're trying to, you know, pitch their league to some teams that are in your league. There's a lot of crossover of teams. So it's always competitive. So not all of the time is it going to work out when you partner with people. So my original partner, we went our separate ways. But I've my journey has led me to a point where I've learned not to have any bitterness anymore, and it's been a good journey to finally reach this point where I can be aware that the game of basketball is competitive and that maybe people are in a competitive frame of mind. They certainly are, such as on Twitter when they argue and maybe get a little toxic there. But at least we can be more aware of what's happening and understand that that's just kind of the nature of the beast. So yeah, I actually have so many years of doing something super basketball related. So yeah, there's just a lot that I can talk about, but I don't want to ramble on too much. So go ahead.
Yeah. And so how did you start covering the Warriors?
Yeah, 2009. Um, the founders of goldenstateofmind.com, they were playing in my league. I can't remember how we made the connection, but yeah, they were playing in our league. Maybe they named their team Golden State of Mind. Who knows? I can't even remember. And then I went to no, actually it was before that, 2007. I went to summer league, so they were playing in my league already. And I just on SB Nation on Golden State of Mind, you can create a fan post so anybody can post anything. And I'm sure that's still the case. I went to Summer League. I saw Marco Bellinelli play. I can't even remember why I went to Summer League. It was just a thing to try. And I just loved the game too much. And Marco Bellinelli scored 37 points in his first Summer League game. And I wrote about it and I kind of hyped it up too much. It's ironic because Bellinelli literally retired a couple weeks ago. I still need to write that article on my current Let's Go Warriors.com website, but it was pretty cool to like do the fan post. And at that point, they were like, "Hey, you're writing all these things from Summer League. Why don't you just be one of our writers?" Oh, okay, cool. Now, the founders of Golden State of Mind, Shiloh Rao and Justin Kadama, are the two guys I worked with all the time. They were like, we're busy. We're doing our thing, whether it's, at their jobs or Shiloh has always been an entrepreneur type. So he was working at his tech company or what have you. They didn't have time to go cover the Warriors at any games. And the cool thing about that was Raymond Ritter, because the team was so bad at the time, Raymond Ritter decided that he would open up the credentials to blogs. So there were quite a few of us blogs that were covering the game, covering the Warriors when they were struggling. Now there's the We Believe season in 2007, so that's sort of an asterisk. But other than that, 2009, 2010, those were all lean years, and so but that allowed me to go to games, so I was getting credentialed every now and then. And then in 2013. I just realized I was doing a lot. Like I was one of the first people to live tweet a game, like watch a game and tweet what was happening and be excited about it and things like that. And it was taking a lot of energy to do that. And I was thinking, well, am I just giving this all to SB Nation, which owned Golden State of Mind? They had bought them out. And I said, well, why don't I just start my own thing? If I'm going to just throw my soul at this, let me start my own thing. I was just trying to figure out what to call it, just stumbling around. We came upon Let's Go Warriors. Somebody on Twitter had it. My guy Justin over at what's it called? Made in Golden State. He was like, "Oh, why don't you just, offer him $100 for the moniker? I mean, how can he say no? Like, I mean, when is he ever going to sell his Twitter handle for any amount of money?" Okay, so we just tried that, and the guy said, "Okay, here you can have Let's Go Warriors on Twitter." And so I was an early adopter on, Instagram. So luckily I got that. I was just on TikTok. We did not get Let's Go Warriors on TikTok. I wasn't fast enough to move on that. But I did I should go back to my Snapchat. I'm sure I've got a million, old videos still stuck on Snapchat that I should bring out of the vault. But we got Snapchat Let's Go Warriors, a lot of things Let's Go Warriors lined up for some reason. So got really lucky with that. And then 2013, I started the moniker, the handle Let's Go Warriors. And then that summer, I just decided to go cover the Warriors when they went to China. So I asked Raymond for a credential. I got credentialed by the NBA, got to go on the trip, and I think I got lucky because there weren't a lot of other reporters covering the Warriors at the time. Yeah, in the 2013 season, even though I think they just made the playoffs for the first time in a long time. So there was like nobody from the Chronicle, nobody from um, the Mercury. Maybe there were, but I'm thinking there weren't. And NBC Sports Bay Area like didn't even exist. Like they didn't have the structure that they have now. So I was like the only reporter writing articles from China and posting them. Now, our website has gone through a couple of iterations where we actually lost a lot of our articles in the transfer process. So those articles are all gone, I think, unless there's a Wayback Machine we can ever look it up. But Raymond Ritter noticed that, yeah, he was like thankful for that. So he gave me a season credential and he said, "Hey, look, if you really want to cover the team well, you need to cover some practices." So I took that. I go, okay, you want me to cover practices? I'm going to go to every practice. So I went to every practice. And so I just covered it as much as I could. And it was only a few years after that, like 2014, 15, 16, maybe 17 even, where I started doing more and more video. And that's when our YouTube channel kind of became known for the behind the scenes of that stuff. And it's evolved since then. But yeah, a lot of evolution. But yeah, that's how Let's Go Warriors got started. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy history.
And on your LinkedIn page, it said that in 2022, that led him to retire from
Yeah.
covering the Warriors at every practice, every shoot around, every pregame workout routine,
Yeah.
and every postgame interview session. Rich believes the lessons he learned in basketball are directly applicable to life. What led you to
Oh,
do
thank you.
that? And do you still cover the Warriors, but during certain games?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into like the specific details, but let's just say it was kind of like um, well, maybe you can if if the audience of this of your podcast here can reference back to like Rashomon, the I actually haven't seen the movie yet, but I've read about it. So it's like a movie that has different perspectives from each of the main characters and like just a different way of seeing the same thing. And there was something that happened on the road where it was like a Rashomon effect between me and Raymond Ritter. So we disagreed on something, is what we'll say. Um, and and so I stopped covering games for a little bit, and then because I was not able to just film people, Warriors players shooting around officially in the background, whether it was pregame or at a practice. I just pivoted and started to do more things on YouTube. Thankfully, technology um, has advanced enough so that we can have open discussions about the Warriors on different platforms. And I don't necessarily need to be at the arena and do a live from the arena after the game. I can do the live, from my house, and talk about the Warriors in a high vibrational way that we like to do and utilize my experiences from the past. I also noticed that being at every game, every arena, every practice, every morning shoot around, pregame, I had to be the way that I did things. I wanted to capture everything behind the scenes that I could. And you really just need to go be consistent about that. If I'm going to go film Steph Curry, then I should probably go film at the time it was like Chris Chiozza, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody, the guys that were first in the gym. So why wouldn't um, why wouldn't I include them in our full coverage? So that required me to be at the arena 3 hours before tip-off. And also, once the game was done, you go to post game, and then maybe I would hop on a live stream. It ends up being at least 3 more hours after the game. So that's 9 consecutive hours. And you have to really, I had to plan my dinners, get the to go at the what do you call it? The food courts that are like 3 blocks away from Chase. Make sure I got the Starbucks, like it was like really unhealthy, honestly. Like it was taking a toll on my body. And when it starts to take a toll on your body and you're tired all the time, it's going to affect your mental. So, because I was pretty much, you know, um, forced to pivot and think of a new way to cover the Warriors. The good thing was that I wasn't sacrificing my body and soul for that as much anymore. I had more energy to to pour into analysis of the team. And so that is basically why I retired from following the team on the beat because I went at it so hard, you know. There are other ways to cover the team. Like there are like feature reporters like Ann Killian of San Francisco Chronicle. Doesn't need to go to every game. Janie McCauley only really covers when they're the home team. Tim Kawakami, who I recently interviewed for the summit, he'll pick and choose the ones that he needs to go to. Um, Sometimes it does end up being very um, rigorous, especially if they hit the playoffs. But yeah, I just got to a point where I decided that it was in my own best interest to um, not cover the team on a regular basis, but then also just not cover the team because I checked off every box, pretty much bucket list. I'd been to the arena when they won at Oracle. I was at the arena when they won in Cleveland. I guess I wasn't around for 2022 to be in Boston for that because I probably would have been in Boston, but like I'd already kind of done that, you know. I guess Chase Center never experienced a championship, a finals win at Chase Center, but that's okay. I mean that was literally the time I was rethinking things and trying to look out for my own health overall. But it wasn't like I got sick or anything. It's just um exhaustion and just mentally you didn't have to be in survival mode every time. You didn't have to figure out what airline to fly and how to get to, you know, Atlanta and then to Charlotte and then to Miami, then to Orlando. It's just like crazy. It used to be crazy. Like I can still remember scheduling Greyhound buses from Miami to Orlando, or it gets really um I did some really crazy things to keep things on a budget. You can actually get away with not spending too much money, especially if you have credentials to games. Um, but let's say even if you had a nosebleed ticket to a game, you could still cover the game with a nosebleed ticket to a degree. You can get the feel of the crowd, and it wouldn't cost that much terribly more. You can maybe keep it under $100 for that ticket on the road, but you know, it adds up. So for me to stop going to the venues, it also helps out like monetarily. So it helped out in almost every aspect of life. And since then, I've just kind of been building on our YouTube channel and all the interviews that I used to film in the interview room. Well, now with technology, they kind of give those away. So I try and add value to it. I try and find what is the best in that interview and highlight that. You can now do transcripts and captions and all of that. And so then that has evolved also more into more commentary and how we cover games after a game. We'll study the interview, what they say on the podium, link that back to our experiences and notice patterns and whatnot. Look at the game film of the game that we still watch, which is something I couldn't do if I were out there covering the Warriors, um, you know, feet on the street, because now I have multiple laptops. I can record um, a sequence of plays and then identify the X's and O's. And so I can do a lot more analysis. I think I can do more good for the average fan with me here in this seat using technology that's before me, just like the Zoom call. So yeah, that's long-winded answer, but that's the reason why we are where we are right now.
Um, Now moving on to a couple questions about the Warriors in NBA. So
Hmm.
how would you sum up this past Warriors season and what were your key takeaways, both positive and negative?
Okay. I do like to keep things more on the positive, but I do have something that can be construed as negative. But I think the season was a success. Just from a basketball standpoint, I wish I'd had the time because I've been spending the last 3 months working on this summit that I can't wait to tell you about at the end of this. But um, I think the original formula was okay. Klay Thompson, let's just catch it from the standpoint that Klay is gone. So without needing to debate uh, whether or not we should have done whatever we could to keep Klay, let's just move past that because that can be debated in and of itself. With Klay leaving for sure, nothing we can do about it, let's say, then they need to pivot and they need to build the best team that they can with the available roster moves that they can. They go and get DeAnthony Melton. I felt that he was making a huge difference. Like when he plays defense, there's not a lot of people in the NBA that play defense the way he did. Now, I know he's injured and he'll probably be a Warrior coming up. And so maybe his defense will regress a little bit. Who knows? But if he plays anything like he did 365 days ago, that's some special stuff. Now, like he completely shut down James Harden. Now, granted, that was a preseason game and Harden was not taking it seriously, but you could just see how he did. And so I think we were on an upward trend with Melton on the team, but then he gets injured and he's gone for the season. So I think Melton was actually a crucial piece of that. Then you're languishing at 500, and then you have to make the big decision to get Jimmy Butler. So in that respect, and then obviously getting Jimmy Butler, they went something like 25-7 or whatnot, and then ended up being ousted by Minnesota with Steph being injured, of course. So I think in that respect, how we pivoted can be seen as a success. You lose somebody like Klay Thompson, who is when he is at his best is still, killer Klay. It's just that his defense couldn't sustain the level of the past. And when you have to play defense with a slower Klay and a smaller Steph Curry on the floor, it makes it hard to play them together for the defensive purposes, which is odd. But obviously, offensively, they're the greatest shooting backcourt of all time, and they probably still would be. So we lost Clay, and so it's kind of like to me, it was a success knowing that you're going to lose Clay on the offensive end. So here we are, right? But the negative side is I think it was a missed opportunity by Steve Kerr to integrate Jonathan more. Now, there were circumstances. Jonathan got injured and then he came back after the team got Jimmy Butler. So it's not really Steve's fault, but just in the span of 3.5 years, there might have been more of, but hindsight's 2020. There might have been more, I guess, and maybe there was attention to integrating Jonathan's unique game with Steph Curry's unique game. And so that requires a super evolution by Steve. So I don't expect that of him. So it's a rather difficult criticism of him because you're expecting somebody who's a genius to go the extra level of super genius, and I think that's a lot to ask. But him giving Jonathan certain DNPs at certain times of even last season, the season before that, like against Denver. Um, those are potentially really devastating results down the line that we're now seeing with the chemistry of the team and the chemistry of JK and his love for basketball the way that he knows it. Um, I just think that it's like I'm asking him to be a general manager at the same time as being a coach, and that's a lot to ask. And in fact, he used to be a general manager and doesn't want to be a general manager anymore. He just wants to coach. But I think in the modern NBA, with the second apron and the first apron and things like that, it requires a coach to kind of blend that into the daily routine. That if you give Jonathan a DNP now, that could have effects on the roster from a salary cap perspective later. And these are things that I said when it happened. I wrote on letsgowarriors.com that when he gave Jonathan the DNP against the Clippers, that was a fireable offense, which is a very harsh criticism, honestly. But I do have grace in knowing that it would be a lot to ask Steve to have not done that. But I do think it had ramifications down the line. And now JK's agent is using Steve Kerr's interview against him on the fact that Steve was up on the podium and said that it would be difficult to play Jonathan when Jimmy's playing so well. And so just those things like Steve should not have said that, even if he felt that. So the negative is that Steve could have been better, even though, and I don't usually criticize Steve from a basketball standpoint. Um, so it could have been better, but in saying that, better means like really like the best coach ever to walk the planet because those are really hard things to do. So that's the caveat to the negative part.
And go, what is your Warriors all-time starting five?
Ooh, yeah, well, you definitely have to have Steph. You definitely have to have Clay. So if I have Steph and Clay on there, it's hard for me to, put other guys on there. But I think you definitely have to have Wilt, even though I never saw him play. And let's see. Man, Draymond, I think, is just he's the best defender in the history of the NBA, in my opinion. So you've got to have Draymond. So Draymond, Wilt, Steph, Clay. Yeah, I am going to go really rogue on this last guy and normally I probably would pick, honestly, like Chris Webber, even though like he only played one season, but it's like, hold on, like you don't know how great this guy would become, and he did become great. So there's a little debate on how we would pick him because you're kind of basing that on, you know, him as a Sacramento King. Obviously, Chris Mullin is so awesome, one of the best shooters of all time as well. And I'm probably missing a couple people. One of my favorites is Mitch Richmond because my dad took me to go watch him and he scored like 52 points as a rookie at that game we were. But I won't pick them either. The one I'm gonna pick is mainly it's a political choice. It's Latrell Sprewell because he doesn't get talked about enough. So if I put him in my top five of all time, and usually I don't do the top five thing because it is kind of whoever's left out of the top five might feel bad. It's kind of judgmental. It's kind of ranking things. I'm all about like you don't necessarily need to predict something. Now our brains are designed to predict. It's the most sophisticated prediction machine in the universe, right? Um, and that's done to keep us alive, right? But a lot of those habits go into other things in life, such as watching basketball games. You want to predict and you want to, this and that. And now we have industries like the betting, sports betting is an entire industry based on predictions, um, which is crazy. I don't do it. But yeah, I have this thing called I call it crap, CRAP. So I try to avoid comparisons, rankings, awards, and presentations because they're all kind of subjective. And I think just like Moses Moody has said on the podium, comparison is the thief of joy. So I feel like it does take away a little bit of joy. But you asked the question, I gave you five, and I put Latrell Sprewell as my small forward, I guess. I guess he could play small forward in this era. Um, Mainly because he was so good and people don't realize it. And there are probably good reasons for the Warriors organization not hyping him up all that much because he choked a Warriors coach. That Warriors coach, PJ Carlesimo, still is employed by the NBA in some capacity. He's asked to, talk about the game and appears on radio. I think he even appears on TV every now and then for the NBA. So I understand it. Like for the Warriors to hype up the trail, that could be, received in a bad way by PJ Carlesimo, who was the victim of the choking from Latrell. So just from a basketball on-court perspective and taking away some of the drama of it, I would pick Latrell because I want him to get his shine finally from the Warriors, and that'll be me. I'll do that.
And our final question is that
Yeah.
um, Barack Obama listed his all-time starting five, which was Steph Curry, MJ, LeBron,
Yeah.
Durant, and Hakeem. What
Ooh,
would be your starting five to match that team?
he said MJ. He said Steph, MJ. He said Kobe.
LeBron,
Oh, sorry, LeBron.
Durant, and Hakeem.
Durant. Okay, Hakeem. Yeah, these top fives are hard because it just depends. There's so many factors that really go on behind it. Um, like almost like when you were born, who did you see play? Um, if you saw Wilt Chamberlain play, you'd probably pick Wilt Chamberlain because he was unbelievable at the time. My co-host Dean Chambers always picks Bill Russell. He has an affinity towards Bill Russell. So every answer to that is probably biased in some way. But I'll tell you what, I will say it would have Steph and MJ on it. I have been asked who is the greatest player of all time. The way I answered that is another sidestep of mine is I would pick Michael Jordan to save the planet from invading aliens, and they had to play a game of basketball to determine the fate of the Earth because Michael would somehow will a win. Steph Curry is more like if I'm stuck on a deserted island and I do have access to YouTube though, and I have a power generator that never goes out so I could charge my phone and just watch highlights. I would watch highlights of Steph until I died on that island because he's the most entertaining, yet it's not just entertainment, it's towards winning as well. And he's the most joyful player of all time. How can you not, you know, respect that as well? So I do have Steph and Michael to equal Barack Obama on that. And the rest of them, boy, it's really hard. I think you would have to pick LeBron. So I'm sure there's a lot of Warriors fans cringing as I say that. But just from what I've seen, and I've seen him play his whole career. So yeah, I think I'd have to have LeBron in there. The rest of them, oh boy. Yeah, KD, I understand that pick. For some reason, I don't have him on my all-time top five. It's just no disrespect to him, and I love the guy, and I have filmed him working out, and he's acknowledged me filming him and stuff. So he probably be like, "Oh man, how can you do this to me, Rich?" Uh, if he saw this. And Hakeem is an interesting pick. Okay, well, um, So I got my three. Power forward. It's hard and again, I only can give you guys that I have seen play. So unfortunately, that wipes away a whole other generation of players that were probably really good in their own right in Hall of Fame. But I would think Tim Duncan, and I didn't like watching Tim Duncan when he played because he was always beating up on whoever he faced. So he would just always beat the Warriors. That's for sure. So nobody could guard him, and I didn't like the bank shot. I thought that was boring, but just from what I've heard from Steve Kerr about how great Tim Duncan was and about how um, Steph reminds him of Tim Duncan, his demeanor and all of that. I think had I known Tim Duncan behind the scenes, and that's exactly what we're trying to do at Let's Go Warriors, to get to know these players better from a human side. Had I known Tim Duncan from the human side, I would have loved him more, or I would have actually liked him when I watched him beat up on all of our teams that I was rooting for. So I'm going to say Tim Duncan rather. I haven't really thought about this, and I don't do the ranking thing. So I'll say Tim Duncan with a huge assist from Steve Kerr because I've watched so many, like thousands of his interviews, and he talks about Tim Duncan every now and then. And then at center, boy, we're right back to who I've seen, but I'm gonna pick Jokic. I'm gonna pick Jokic, and I know I could have picked Giannis at the four, but I'm gonna pick. Yeah, I like my Duncan pick, and it's probably either Shaq or Jokic, but I think I gotta pick Jokic. Just the way he plays the game is so beautiful, and his passing is unbelievable. And oh, not just his passing, but he'll hit a clutch three in your face behind his head from nearly half court. He has that magical thing about him as well. And I don't think I've ever actually rooted for Jokic in any single game, but I have enough respect to know that I definitely want him to, like in a game to save the planet, let's have him on our squad because he can do it all. Um, Certainly, Shaq was the most dominant beast inside force, but Jokic has a lot of that, not quite at the level of Shaq, but enough to make his own, imprint on any defender out there. So I think I'm good with those five. Yeah, I think I'm happy with those. Magic Johnson is close. Magic Johnson is close. He's on the bench for sure. A fully healthy Magic Johnson.
Okay, so that was all the questions I had for you. So thank
Yeah.
you again, Rich, for joining me, and let's go Warriors.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me talk so much because I could go on and on. I love the game too much I could talk about it for days. But I appreciate what you're doing and way to get a, head start. Uh, you're getting started so young and that's pretty cool.
Thanks.
All right. So keep it up, AJ.
Thanks.